So, the Indiana Fever just signed somebody. I'm kind of surprised the Indiana Fever signed somebody, like, today. So they signed someone to a 7-day contract, which means, did they waive somebody? Did the Fever not have to waive?
The Indiana Fever making unexpected roster moves is nothing new. But what just happened sent shockwaves through the fan base. Out of nowhere, the team signed yet another player to a 7-day contract. On the surface, that might not seem like much, but the implications are heavy. To add a player, someone usually has to be waived. That means a name we've grown used to could be on the chopping block. This isn't just a temporary experiment. This is a signal. The Fever are preparing for something bigger than a fill-in. They're preparing for life without Caitlin Clark, and they're not even trying to disguise it anymore. You don't stockpile point guards if your superstar floor general is close to returning. You do it when you know she's not coming back anytime soon.
Point guard. And my brain goes two different ways on this. Either one, the Fever weren't so happy with Odyssey Sims' performance in her first game with the Indiana Fever. And I think a lot of fans were underwhelmed. However, Odyssey Sims had a high bar to clear because Ari McDonald, when she came to the Indiana Fever, she immediately made it.
That's the harsh truth fans are starting to realize. The team didn't just sign Odyssey Sims last week, a veteran point guard with a history of bouncing around the league. They followed it up by inking Kira Lambert, a player who has never played a minute in the WNBA, but has built her career overseas. 2 point guards in the span of a week. If that doesn't scream desperation, then what does? Sims was supposed to bring steadiness, but when she took the floor, she looked rusty, out of rhythm, and underwhelming. This wasn't the spark the team hoped for. Compare that to when Ari McDonald first suited up for Indiana earlier this season. McDonald immediately brought energy and results, making fans believe she was a long-term solution. Sims had the opposite effect. So the Fever doubled down and signed Lambert, a player who most fans didn't even know by name before the press release. The official announcement tried to spin it positively. Lambert averaged 15, 4 points in Greece, shot over 42% from deep, and helped her team capture a championship.
Played great right away. Odyssey Sims did not have a great game in that last game whatsoever. And so are they signing her to challenge Odyssey Sims and see who plays better? Or are they signing her because they know that Caitlin Clark is not going to be returning this season?
Sounds impressive, but WNBA fans know better. Success in Europe doesn't guarantee success in the States. Plenty of overseas stars come here and fade quickly. But the Fever weren't making a move based on upside. They were making a move based on necessity. With Sydney Colson injured, with McDonald hurt, and with Clark's timetable completely up in the air, Indiana is scrambling to put bodies at the point guard position. And this scramble tells us more about Clark's reality than any official update from Stephanie White or the front office ever could. Caitlin Clark has now missed 21 games this season. That's not a small number. That's not a typical nagging injury. That's the profile of a player whose body is betraying her. She's gone from being the Iron Woman of college basketball, never missing a game, to sitting on the sidelines in street clothes as her team auditions strangers on short-term contracts. Think about the sequence. First, it was a quad strain. That kept her out for weeks. Then came the left groin. Now, it's the right groin. These aren't freak accidents. This is the body of a player breaking down from constant pounding, targeting, and lack of league protection.
To the team. Another point guard with Sydney out, with Ari out, with Caitlin Clark's return. Who the heck knows at this point? We need some point guards on this team. Odyssey Sims, she played this past Tuesday. Looked like she haven't picked up a basketball in months.
Even Stephanie White's updates sound like smoke screens. Day to day. No timeline for return. Still limited to rehab and running drills. That's not the language of someone returning in a week or two. That's the language of an organization bracing for the worst while hoping fans don't notice. But fans have noticed. The numbers prove it. Since Clark's injury, WNBA viewership has cratered. Games that used to pull close to 2 million viewers are now lucky to scrape 800,000. Fever national broadcasts are down more than 50%. Road ticket prices have collapsed, dropping between 47% and 71% depending on the matchup. The highly hyped showdown against the Chicago Sky, tickets went from $86 to $25 almost overnight. That's not just a dip, that's a collapse. The All-Star Game was the league's chance to show it could thrive without her. It didn't. Ratings fell 35% compared to when Clark played the year prior. Yet, instead of admitting the obvious, that Caitlin Clark is single-handedly holding up their business model,
Never played in the WNBA before, yet the Fever did have room to add another player on a hardship deal. So Lambert, it was announced by the team, has been brought in. This is what the press release itself says, so I'll let them set the context for you.
league officials and media partners try to spin it as second best ever. It's insulting to fans who can see the reality. This isn't just about viewership, it's about safety. Clark has become the league's #1 target, and the officiating has failed to protect her. She's taken more flagrant fouls than anyone else in the WNBA this season. Out of 30 flagrant calls across the league, 5 were on Clark alone. That's nearly 1/6 of the entire league's flagrants aimed at a single player. And the Chicago Sky? They account for 4 of those 5. 80%. That's not coincidence. That's calculated. Marina Mabrey shoving Clark to the ground after a dead ball. JC Sheldon poking her in the eye. These aren't tough defense plays. They're assaults masquerading as basketball. And every time the refs look the other way, the message is sent, go ahead, take shots at the star. There are no consequences.
To a 7-day contract, the team announced today. The Fever qualified for the roster spot due to the injuries to Sydney Colson and Ari McDonald. Lambert has spent the entirety of her professional career playing in Europe, most recently with Olympiacos, where she won the Greek A1 League.
The Indiana Fever's situation has gone from difficult to dire, and it all stems from one unspoken reality. Caitlin Clark's body is failing her in real time. The franchise is scrambling to keep its season alive, while the league is scrambling to keep its business model intact. Let's examine this closely, because the writing is on the wall. Indiana fans were promised a new era. Clark was supposed to be the bridge from obscurity to relevance, from empty seats to sold-out arenas, from being an afterthought to becoming the heartbeat of women's basketball. And for a moment, it worked. Ratings soared. Ticket prices exploded. Merchandise flew off the shelves. Every team in the WNBA benefited simply by playing her. Cities moved games into larger arenas just to handle the demand. The Caitlin Clark effect was real, measurable, and historic. But with her sidelined, the effect has inverted. Instead of lifting the league, her absence has exposed just how fragile the entire structure is. Non-Fever games are technically up 37% in viewership this year, but that number is misleading.
From overseas is shocking development. Now, they had no European players on the team, and looked like the Indiana Fever new player did speak to the media earlier today. We got some of that footage. Let's roll it.
This opportunity that'd be coming for you.
Even with that growth, they're still barely averaging 549,000 viewers. Compare that to the millions Clark pulled in single-handedly, and you see how far the league still has to go without her. Indiana's handling of this mess has only made things worse. Fans are left in the dark with vague injury updates. Day to day. No timetable. Prioritizing long-term health. These are empty phrases designed to buy time. The truth is, Clark hasn't even returned to practice. She's stuck doing non-contact rehab, which is what players do when they're months away from returning, not weeks. Yet the front office keeps selling hope. They act like the next game could be the one she comes back. They feed fans just enough optimism to keep them tuning in, buying tickets, and holding on. But every signing tells the truth. Odyssey Sims on a hardship deal. Kira Lambert on a 7-day contract. These aren't competitive tweaks. They're survival maneuvers. When a franchise has to bring in 2 stopgap point guards in 1 week, it means they're not expecting their franchise leader back. If Clark were close, there'd be no need. Think about what that signals to her teammates. Instead of preparing to integrate their superstar back into the lineup, they're preparing to replace her production any way they can. Think about what it signals to fans. Instead of selling certainty, the Fever are selling question marks. And think about what it signals to the league.
Yeah, Monday, so it was a pretty quick turnaround.
Take me through the emotions of that day, knowing that this was coming your way and that you'd have a chance to play on a team that might need you to play right away.
No, I was super excited. It's a blessing, having the journey that I've had and just, remaining faithful, trusting God and doing the work.
If Clark's body breaks down, the entire WNBA machine sputters. That's why this situation isn't just a team problem. It's a league crisis, and it's one born from negligence. From day one, Clark has been targeted relentlessly. Opponents took liberties with her because officials allowed it. She was shoved, poked, dragged, and hacked, all under the guise of tough defense. Yet when fans cried foul, the league stayed silent. When broadcasters mentioned it, they brushed it off. And now, we're seeing the result. Clark isn't on the floor because the system designed to protect her failed at every level. What makes it worse is that this targeting wasn't random. It was calculated. Rival teams understood that if you knock Clark down, you knock the league's balance down with her. The Chicago Sky practically made it a game plan, accounting for 80% of the flagrant fouls against her. And what was the punishment? A technical foul here, a flagrant one there. Nothing more. Not a single suspension. Not a single public statement condemning the treatment of their most valuable star. Contrast that with how the NBA treats its stars. Imagine LeBron James, Steph Curry, or Giannis being shoved to the ground after dead balls multiple times with no repercussions.
As Caitlin Clark fans, this is a nasty position to be in. We're dealing with the Indiana Fever telling us that Caitlin Clark is day to day, and we know the Indiana Fevers, Amber Cox, Kelly Crosskoff, Stephanie White.
Imagine them being poked in the eye with referees calling it just basketball. It would never happen. But for Caitlin Clark, it's been business as usual. The toll has been devastating. 21 missed games, shooting percentages cratering. A player once defined by her stamina, now defined by her fragility. And with every game she misses, the Fever's season slips further into chaos. What's particularly cruel is how this season was supposed to be her breakout as a professional. Year 1 was about transition. Year 2 was about domination. Instead, it's become a season defined by frustration, false hope, and physical breakdowns. The Fever are trying to paper over the cracks with emergency signings, but the truth is clear. Kira Lambert isn't the answer. Odyssey Sims isn't the answer. They aren't even stopgaps that make sense long term. They're bandages slapped on a wound that's only getting deeper. And yet, fans are expected to accept it, to keep showing up, to keep watching, to keep believing that Clark will walk back through those doors any day now. The harsh reality? She might not. Not this season. Maybe not next season. Maybe not as the same player ever again. Because once the body starts,
injury and is expected to miss at least 2 weeks. This comes on the heels of the WNBA and other teams moving games into larger arenas to accommodate Caitlin's fans. And as sports fans, I think we all know that Caitlin Clark is the most popular women's basketball player. In fact, she might be one of the most